Welcome back to the Simple Car Guy channel. Today I have something special, a BMW X6 M50i. It's not really a secret that I like small funky cars, so what am I doing with this high fashion SUV? Well, this one is just a little bit different from the rest. Not only is it an SUV, but it's also a coupe in a way. And oh yeah, it's definitely funky. So in this video, we will take a look at the exterior and talk about its distinctive looks, check out the interior, including the tech and other fun features, go over the engine and listen to that sweet V8 under the hood, and then take it on a short little drive. If you'd like to see more videos about this car or even any other BMW, hit that like button to support the channel and we'll see what we can do. So let's start with the exterior. Some people believe that every new car, especially from a luxury brand like a BMW, is, well, beautiful. And that has proven to be controversial when you take a look at the new 4 Series with its gigantic grills, and the same can be said for the rear of this car. The front of the X6 is unmistakably BMW, with slightly oversized kidney grills and an evolution of the angel lights. It's striking and aggressive, and in this white color, it's all on display. Car makers can get away with funky lines and some design choices by painting the car black or some other really dark color. But here you can see it all. This brings us back to the rear of the car where there's a lot of this design. The X6 has quite a distinctive look and you really have to love it. BMW clearly went for style over function with this design, sacrificing the room and convenience of the X5 on which this car is built with its sloping hatchback design, right? Even if you don't love how it looks, which you should if you think of getting one, it is subjectively speaking quite interesting to look at. Going around the car, there are a few things to pay attention to. At the front, we have already seen the beautiful full LED or even optional laser headlights, and of course full LED taillights in the back here as well. I don't even think there are any non-LED lights left on this car, but I could be wrong. And here at the back we can also see the diffuser that BMW puts on their AM Sport and AM cars. It kind of separates the back a little bit, which I like, and makes it a little bit more distinctive looking. You definitely have 3 different areas. This bottom area here, and then like what should be the bumper, I guess, and then the hatch at the top, even though the bumper actually starts over here, but you know, it's all about how it looks. Here in the back, we can also see 2-pod 4-pipe design. So you have 2 actual pipes coming out into this fake looking pod that kind of makes it look like dual exhaust instead of quad. Not really sure why they would do that, but the car does sound amazing, and I will so stick around and we will hear it from the back, from inside the car, from different areas to see how it sounds, because it does sound quite amazing. Another fake item on the exterior that I kind of funny are these fake vents. So there's one here in the back and there's another one in the front over there. Not really sure why they would do that. BMW is not really known for these, but they are on this car. I guess it's purely a design type of thing. And you know, thinking of other cars in this segment, what is the X6 really up against as far as looks? There isn't anything very interesting other than the Lamborghini Urus, or however you say it, but that's almost in a different category. I much better prefer this car, even with this back, to Mercedes GLE Coupe or the Audi Q8. Those just look kind of the same and so rounded and kind of squished. I don't know, this car looks so much better to me. I think we need to embrace cars and SUVs that look different. We can't complain that all cars are boring and look the same, but then also hate on the makers that try something different, right? So now let's go check out the interior and see what we can find in there. All right, so what do we have here? From the start, it feels very rich and luxurious when you get inside. And even though it's very unique looking on the outside, it's not nearly as unique on the inside. This X6 replaced the X5 I made a couple videos about a few months ago for this owner, and you can clearly see the interior design has elevated in this generation car. It's definitely not a complete overhaul, it's more of an evolution in my eyes. The screens got bigger, yes, some buttons disappeared, but if you've been in a current gen BMW, you have experienced this interior as well. Of course, the fit and finish and the quality of the materials is just on another level, and it adds many extra features that's separated from the more basic BMWs, such as the heated door handle right here and the middle armrest that's heated as well, and even some unique features that are not found on the X5, like this door handle area. I'll bring you in closer to show you what I mean. It feels big and spacious, and with these amazing 20-way adjustable seats, they can adjust pretty much anything you would ever want to adjust. And the cool thing also about these is that when you wave your hand around, it shows you on the screen what you can actually adjust with which button, because there's a lot of ways to adjust this stuff, and sometimes you don't know. You can't see what you're doing, so it's very cool that they brought that in on the screen as well. But you're still using physical buttons. But basically, you can adjust just about anything that you'd ever want to adjust. Speaking of comfort, I think this M Sport steering wheel is one of the best in the industry. No joke. Something you'd want to hold on to for hours at a time. It just feels so nice. It's thicker, so it doesn't feel cheap or, I hate those like skinny ones. My BMW 550 has the skinny like regular steering wheel, and this is such a big difference. I'll probably upgrade to a car like this just for the steering wheel. But I digress. Now let's take a quick look at the center console area. It's got two new big screens. Both of them are 12 inches. One is for the instrument cluster on the left here, and one is for the iDrive, or as BMW now calls it, BMW Live Cockpit Professional 7 something or other. It's complicated. But you can pretty much control anything from this screen right here, which is obviously pretty cool. And it's also a touch screen, so now you can, press buttons and all that, which it wasn't in the previous generation. But luckily, you can still use the physical controller. I hate cars that don't have a physical controller and you have to like reach out further away just to press something, and then you may not press it correctly, so it distracts you from driving. This, you can drive and simply, do what you need to do. This is also a touchpad, so you can even write in words if needed, or you can use the audio system so you can talk to the car and it will do pretty much anything you ever want it to do. Another thing that I love, and I'm glad that they kept, is physical buttons for the HVAC system. On a lot of cars, these have been completely removed, or they could have been moved to the iDrive, but here they left it as physical buttons. Yes, they're a little bit small, but they're still physical buttons that you can actually press and use like a normal button. Especially, we're in Chicago, so winter, you're wearing gloves when you walk into the car. You can still press, your heated seats or turn on the heater, whatever it may be. I just love that BMW hasn't gone to the trend of removing physical buttons just because. You also have 8 touch buttons here at the bottom. These are not just for the radio. You can definitely use them for other things, so you can basically bookmark or create shortcuts. So if you have like sport displays and you'd like to have them on 7, you go to sport displays, press and hold, and it will automatically assign that menu item to that button. Being a new BMW, it has a very impressive tech selection, and one of my favorites is the backup and 360-degree camera system that overlays a 3D model that you can pretty much play with, and it's pretty fun to use. Camera views can also be recorded and even viewed from the phone that has been paired to the car. The sound system is just as impressive. It has a nice deep bass and high quality mid-range. And of course, you can connect using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto to stream your favorite music. Moving to the back, the seats here are actually fairly comfortable and have plenty of space for someone that's about 5'10" like me, with a few inches to spare. I have about that much, so like good 4 inches to spare. No issue with the leg room either. As you can see, there's a good foot in front of me of the passenger front side, and even if I move here closer, this is set up for me to comfortably drive. I still have a good 2-3 inches of leg room sitting in the back behind myself. The way they do this actually is pretty cool. These are pretty much bucket seats. They're not like a regular bench. It's a bucket seat that's dropped down and back, so even though the line is sloping here, you get all of this space to sit in because it's dropped down and back, like I said. Plus, there's a cutout here for your head. So when you sit, I can push all the way back. I'm not touching anything at all. So you actually have plenty of space and don't feel cramped here at all. Trunk space is of course not as big as the X5, but the owner of this vehicle was able to fit plenty of stuff while moving. And remember, style over function. And now let's talk about the powertrain, my favorite subject. This new X6 comes with two different options for the engine. The B58, which is a straight 6 turbocharged engine that's found in other M Sport cars and also in the new Toyota Supra. But those are much smaller and lighter cars. So for this beast, you want the N63 twin-turbo V8 engine. It's important to understand that this is the N63 TU3 engine. So this is the technical update 3, which is the updated version of the engine that you got in the last generation 50i cars, like my F10 550i or the F15 X5 that the previous owner had. Of course, this one makes 80 more horsepower and 70 more pound-feet of torque, so it's definitely been worked on since then. To be clear, it's not the S63 engine that comes on the X6M, but I think that's a good thing. And the reason why is, sure, you get less horsepower, but these are much more reliable and cheaper to maintain and fix in the long run. And who can complain about 523 horsepower and 553 torques under the hood of a family SUV? I'm sure happy with that. That's pretty insane if you ask me, especially since you get the M-level performance with room and comfort of an SUV. This beast can get to 60 miles an hour in under 4 seconds if you do it right and use launch control. But sadly, this isn't my car, so I will not be showing you, since this is pretty taxing under transmission. So I don't want to do that, to a car that's not mine. But if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, I will convince the owner of this car to try it, and we'll definitely make a video about it. Let's get it to those 1,000 likes, guys. Of course, since this engine just came out a couple of years ago, we don't really have any data on it yet, but with it being the 4th iteration of the N63 engine, it should be fairly reliable over the years and hopefully last a long time. But time will tell. They definitely fixed a lot of the issues in the N63 TU2 engine, which I have in my car, and honestly, I haven't seen any issues with my engine, so I don't expect this owner to have any issues with this engine either. One thing I do know about this engine is that it isn't very good in fuel economy. You won't get what anyone would consider good fuel economy out of this engine. But honestly, who cares? If you go for the M50 version, you clearly care more about the raw power aspect rather than saving a couple of dollars at the gas station. So I think it's finally time to get it started and see what it sounds like. Since this is an M Sport car, the engine sound is very important to the overall experience. When you first start the car, you can hear the aggressive V8 roar and come to life. It sounds great on the outside no matter where you are, even here at the engine itself. On the inside though, the engine sound is pumped in through the speakers, so it can sound very loud if you wanted to, but luckily you can also turn it off and get to hear the real exhaust without any fakery. There are a few options to pick from, so you get to decide depending on who you have in the car and what kind of impression you'd like to leave on them. I'll probably turn it off completely and just enjoy the raw engine sounds. As you can see at idle, the car is pretty tame. It doesn't sound very loud or aggressive or obnoxious in any way. So I think that's really good for, a family SUV in a way. But I'm gonna put it in sport and give it a little bit of gas. Let's see how the sound changes once we do that. Now, that was only 3,500 RPM, so I wasn't flooring it or anything like that, but man, that sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Alrighty guys, so I'm gonna take this beast for a ride. Like I said, it's not my car, so I'm gonna go nice and slow. You know, be respectful to the owner. I mean, that was like 1200 or 1800 RPM, and this thing just picks up. The acceleration on this car is nothing like you would expect from a big SUV, and it sounds like a hot rod. It really does sound like a hot rodded V8, which is definitely not something I expected. But the coolest thing is that, oh my God, yes. But I was saying, it's still refined to the highest German standards, which is, I mean, what else could you ask for, really? And as most big BMW SUVs nowadays, this car has the X-Drive, right? And being in Chicago, this is a huge benefit and reassurance that you won't get stuck in the snow or, you know, icy conditions or things like that. Luckily, this X-Drive here is rear wheel biased, so that means it prioritizes the back wheels before it gives power to the front. So it leaves the front to actually concentrate on the steering, making it for a much more balanced drive. I mean, it sounds like a supercar. I don't really know how to even explain this. It's just, wow, I love it. Being in a big car, I was expecting it to drive, well, like a big car, but honestly, it really does feel like, it feels like a, BMW somehow managed to make it feel like a sedan, and it gives me reassurance when I drive that, you know, I'm not gonna do anything stupid in it. You also sit very, very high up, and when you put it in sport mode, let's do that now, the steering tightens up, and you can, it feels a lot, kind of actually like what my E92 335 felt back in the day. As far as the steering, it's definitely, you know, this car is much, much faster, but it tightens up, and you feel a lot of this feedback for a BMW. BMW sometimes gets a little iffy with these electric steering pumps. I mean, I could just keep doing that. And that was only like 3,000 RPM. Not even punching it, guys. Like, wow. I forgot what I was saying, honestly. But unlike the E92, you know, this car wants to understeer just a little bit, but all things considered, it's really, really nice to drive. Everything fits me perfectly. And it's very easy to reach. I can reach every single button from the seating position. I don't have to, you know, reach or lean or anything like that. So I like how it was designed. It was kind of designed for, I guess, a guy my size, 5'10", 170-ish pounds, something like that. And other than the exhaust, this car is actually very quiet. And some of these even come with acoustic glass option. So then it's going to be practically silent in here. I mean, with this car that doesn't have acoustic glass option, I can't really hear the outside. I feel very isolated, insulated almost from the outside. Well, that's about all I have for you guys on this BMW X6 M50i. If you'd like to see more videos on this car, leave a comment down below and let me know what exactly you'd like to see. Don't forget to subscribe for more car videos, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll go drive this for a couple more minutes before I get it back. Oh, I just want this car for the steering wheel and the exhaust. That's all I need. Well, and the engine. I like the engine. Alright, so I realized you guys probably didn't hear the exhaust at all since I was wearing the mic, so I'm going to give it just a little bit of acceleration. Design choices, by painting the car black,